Whoa, get back here. Hi there. A little bit of practical information. I get asked this all the time. And actually, I probably get bypassed more often than I get asked. Why do we meditate? Most people would rather just ignore the topic. And I'm one of you guys. I felt like the word meditation was the M word for a very long time. It's still not my easiest thing, but it is my most effective thing to get me the results that I want in my life. So why would we want to meditate? Um, I was having a conversation with a neurosurgeon in San Francisco once, whose deposition I was taking. All the attorneys were out in the hallway impolitely discussing exhibits. And I told him, the doctor, hey, I'm working with a whole lot of court reporting students. And, how do we get rid of that chatter in our mind when we're trying to focus on the words in front of us coming in through our ears? And we've got this other whole dialogue going on up there. And he said, oh, tell them to meditate. And I joked and I said, okay, I want my money back. Because when there was no money, it was me just hitting him up for some free advice. But I said, nobody's going to buy that. I don't buy that. I mean, my brain says I have to report aiming for 250 words a minute to make myself have a cushion of comfort and a cushion of confidence so I can just get through everyday life behind that machine. My brain's not going to go on board with slow down, stop, don't think of anything, clear your mind. I can't clear my mind and record at 250 words a minute. And he said, well, that's not what meditation is. News to me. Well, then what is it? He said, what you're trying to do is sit behind that machine and have the words come in your ears and be able to process them literally through your body, out your fingers, without the chattery part of your mind interrupting the process. He said, I've got news for you. The chattery part of your mind will always be there. It's what our human physiology does. What we want to do, especially as reporters, is we want to be able to detach from the thoughts, detach to the point where we're not even maybe aware of the thoughts. We're aware that they're way up there, but we're not engaged in them. We're certainly not attached to them. And we get attached to them because we're so practiced at listening to all the words. And all of a sudden there's words coming through, and your brain, without discernment, will want to capture all the words. So it's going to want to listen to the chatter in your head. You have to be aware enough when you're reporting to know, I want the words that are coming in my ears, not the words that are floating in my brain. And so I asked him, well, so, how do you meditate? What do you do? And he said, first of all, tell them, and anybody who's never, I started to say medicated, Freudian, meditated before, that what you actually only want to do is 1 minute at a time. To try 1 minute of what does it feel like when I just step back in my own skin, in my body, and I don't act, I don't react, I just am being, I'm observing for 1 minute. I'm observing the thoughts that go through my head because they don't ever stop. And sometimes we just keep so busy that we think they're not happening because we're distracted. They're still happening. You're distracted in a way that you're not aware of them happening. But I mean, I'm talking, food, television, Netflix, driving someplace, even driving, you can drop down into thoughts, but you can distract yourself, and by drugs and alcohol and all of it, you can distract yourself to the point where you do not have an awareness of the thoughts that are happening. So how do we get to the point where we are unaware of the thoughts that are happening, or we're aware, but we're not attaching to them while we're riding behind that machine? What we're wanting to do is from what the doctor said, was to get to a practice where we're so practiced at not being aware, not connecting to the thoughts that are floating by, that they are not interfering with our daily activity. And this is interesting because I just came back from Nashville, and part of the practice there was a thing called walking meditation, which is a very advanced form. The idea is to be practiced in going into a meditative state, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, to practice being able to go in and come out at will, and then to be able to literally be in a state of hypnosis, of meditation, and be able to open your eyes and walk forth in the world. To just be able to walk. Because if you can get to where you can maintain that state of being while you're asking your body to do something else, the next step is going to be to maintain that state throughout your day, in every minute of every day. As another guru of mine says, to focus your awareness on your breath. And the practice of that focus of awareness makes your waking life a meditation. Kind of the same thing. So what's happening when we're riding behind that machine and the chatter hits? The chatter is always in your mind. It's always in this part up here that when I go like this, it's because I'm thinking beta waves. You know, in our conscious awareness, it's the fastest waves we have. And actually there are 3 levels of beta, because you can just be in beta, which is where I am now when I'm talking to you. And you may or may not be in beta, because you may have tuned me out and dropped down into alpha waves, in which case you're hypnotized and I can tell you anything I want to. And your subconscious, if it buys into it, will believe it and start believing it more and more. So relax, take a deep breath and go deeper. Or let's have a conversation. We want to get out of this part. We want to get out of our mind. We want to get out of this part of our mind, which is the part of us that, I mean, we need it. We can't get rid of it. It's the part that solves problems. It fixes things. It finds solutions. We need it, but we don't need it chattering when we're busy trying to focus on words. This is the part of you that does the doing, the thinking. It wants to do the fixing and the controlling. It wants to do things. There's your mind. Where we want to be when we're riding behind that machine, follow me here, it's a thing called brain-heart coherence. When you drop from your mind into your heart, which is when I'm telling you go down the stairs, take the elevator, go down, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. We're going from up here to down here. That place in your heart when you've had those moments, all of you have, some moments more than others, where your heart just feels like it has burst open. You're in a state of secure, sacred, safe vulnerability. You're open. When you feel grateful, your heart opens. And the mere act of feeling grateful and opening your heart allows you to be in a mode of being able to receive even more. So up here is you're doing, you're finding, you're controlling, you're thinking part of your mind. In your heart is your being, your knowing, your creating, your connection with everything, the part of you that is aware of everything around you, even when you upstairs aren't. So we do a practice of meditation to be able to know what it feels like in beta waves, and to know what it feels like just under the surface of beta into alpha waves, which is hypnosis. It's also meditation. It's also you driving your car and getting someplace and not knowing how the hell you got there. That's alpha waves. Alpha waves is being in the zone. Alpha waves is the flow. You're still aware, you're still conscious, you're still awake, you're still in control, but you're in a place of being. You're in a place of riding on that machine from the part of you that can process so much faster than the chattery part of your mind. 126 bits of information per second up here, 2 million bits of information per second down here. I mean, I know which part of me I want riding behind that machine when I can consciously recognize it and then allow it to happen, because you can't make that happen. You cannot make yourself go into the zone. You can't. Part of getting there is releasing and allowing and being able to let go of the part that wants to tell you there's a brief for that, which is absurd. It's like, of course there's a brief for everything. Get out of my way. You talk too much. You're interrupting my flow. So we want to practice this daily, multiple times a day if you can, even just 1 minute at a time, watching the thoughts that come by and then watching them and not hearing them, being aware of what they are. I've literally watched a grocery list go across and I'm like, oh my God, that's a grocery list. And then to help myself detach from it, just say, oh, that's groceries. I'm not reading the list. I'm not getting into the thing. I'm just identifying it with a way that my mind will let it go. Or, oh, that's the dog stuff. That's the work stuff. That's the to-do list. That's the argument I had with so-and-so that I just can't let go of. Whatever's going by up there, there's nothing you can do about it in the moment, but your brain wants you to. It wants you to pay attention to it as if it's a screaming 2 or 3-year-old, because sometimes it kind of is. We want to practice to the point where we can go into an alpha wave state at will. And when you guys are listening to that recording for 21 days, you are anchoring yourself to know what it feels like in your body, to be able to go into that state at any time. And you all know you could get up and walk away from it. And that's perfect, because it proves you're not asleep, you're in control in a way, and you're aware of everything that's going on. And when I said in a way, it's because, you know, we keep seeking this element of control as if it's going to change everything, when the actual control that we want is this, I don't know, call it an ultimate control that comes from the inside of you, that comes from your heart, from that place of knowing and being connected to everything, instead of the place that's separate and apart and wanting to analyze everything and then fix it, even if it doesn't need fixing. So we want to be able to drop from our conscious mind into our subconscious, from our mind to our heart, to be able to do that at will when we're having a conversation with somebody, when we're walking down the street, when we're behind the machine, at all times, to have control of what are my thoughts and what part of me are they coming from? Are they coming from a place of fear? Because this was a concept I knew it, but I didn't really understand it. I didn't really know that fear, I'm afraid to start. I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm afraid I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid I'm never going to get out of school. I'm afraid I don't know how to practice. I'm afraid. Even if you're not saying the words, if you're holding yourself back, it's from fear. If you can't say what you need to say, it's from fear. Here's the kicker. Fear only resides in your mind. I mean, there is no fear in your heart. Your heart just knows you're eternal, you're safe, you just are. Everything just is, which kind of sounds hippy dippy, but it's a deeper being than we can imagine. But the part of you that's afraid is kind of and can be afraid of everything. You solve one problem without getting control of it, it will turn around and find another problem. It likes problems. It solves problems. And when you don't have a problem, it will go find one and bring it home to you like a bone. Here, look at what I got. Don't worry, I'll solve it. I went and found it. You didn't need it. It wasn't actually a problem, but now it is. It's yours. But don't worry, because you got me and I'm going to help you solve it. It's all that part of you does. You've got to be able to, at will, disconnect with that part, to let it do what it wants to do up here where it can't be in the way of what we're doing on a daily basis. To be present more, to just be in the now. When you think about it, the words that are coming at us furiously, every single word is in now. It's in this moment, and then the next, and 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 the next. But it's always in the now. Because the subconscious part of you thinks everything is happening right now. When you have a memory from the past, something traumatic that bothers you, it thinks it's happening right now. So much so that it sets off a biochemical reaction in your body to react as if it's happening right now. That's how much it believes in right now. Conversely, your mind, the part that cannot write fast on that machine, it helped you learn your theory, but it cannot write fast because it can't shut up long enough to, first of all. And it can only process 126 bits of information per second. But that part of you, the part that wants to be in control at all times, it can never be present. So when we're up in our mind and the words are coming at us, it's not in the here and now where it can grab those words as they come at us now. Your mind is always either in the past or in the future, but it is never in the now. You want to get the words right now as they're coming to you to stay on top of every word. Drop down, open your heart. Think of something that makes you just feel full of love, whatever that is, an animal, an idea, a poem, a movie, a song. Drop down into your heart, because that's where the speed is. It sounds crazy. It sounds absolutely ludicrous. And probably 43 years ago, if somebody had said, you want to get out of school? You've got to meditate. You've got to get on top of your emotions and your thoughts, and you'll be out in no time. I would have said, I don't know what kind of mushrooms you're on, but I'm having enough trouble behind the machine all by myself. I don't need that shit. My daughter, when she was in school, kept mentioning to me a fellow that was in school for probably just over a year. And nobody could understand. He didn't talk to anybody much. I said, well, what's he doing that's different than everybody else? And she said, I don't know. He comes in and he practices like everybody else, but he's always there early and he's always sitting outside with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. I said, well, go ask him what he's doing. Like, what's the magic? What are you doing? Wait till he finishes whatever he's doing. But can I be so bold as to ask you what you're doing? He was meditating. He was clearing his mind and getting into his heart center to be totally grounded within himself before he went into school. He said he did it before going into school, and then once he was home, he did it before he would start practicing at home. It's the only thing he did differently. The words that were floating through his mind weren't bothering him. He was able to focus on the words coming in through his ears. So, I don't know. As I always say, if it works, do it again. If it doesn't work, don't worry about it. Let it go. And just because it doesn't work today doesn't mean it's not going to work a month from now. So try it again sometime. And for those of you who are having trouble listening to my hypnosis. That's cool. I happen to think it's way more powerful because it's focused on the thing that we're trying to overcome. It's focused on letting go of the fears that we have. It's focused on building a belief in what is possible, because I know what's possible. I've seen it, and I've seen it 100 times with students that I've worked with where it's clicked. And I've seen it where it's not clicking yet. And I also know why it's not clicking. And here's the deal. I can't make anybody do anything. They have to be ready for the light to go on and have enough of an ability to remove the fear, or at least to say, I'm fearful, but I'm going ahead anyway. Because can the unknown over there be any worse than what I'm feeling right now? Probably not. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the magic is in the unknown. Everything that you know is from the past. There's no magic there. There's no aha moments there. It's all been done and lived and experienced. The magic, the changes, the new life that you want, it's all in the unknown, which our brain says, be fearful of. I don't know how to protect you from what I don't know yet. You have to do that. You have to be the one that says, yeah, I'm diving head on into the unknown, because that's where my whole future lies. Every bit of it, all the unlimited number of possibilities. And I can pick and choose the ones I want, the possibilities to create the life I want and the design by the method and means that I want to see it unfold in my life. So, M word, magnificent. Meditate. Clear your mind. Allow yourself to detach from the things that are holding you back, especially the fear. Love you guys. Take care.